Vibhav, you have graduated from
Sir, Indian Institute of Engineering,
Engineering,
Science
Science and Technology. Okay, Shivpur.
Yes, sir.
Where is Shivpur located?
Sir, in Howrah, West Bengal.
West Bengal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Electrical Engineering.
Yes, sir.
Vibhav, recently the COP26 it concluded in Glasgow, and in the final days there were some changes related to the coal consumption in developing countries. What was that change?
Sir, earlier the proposal was to completely remove the coal from the power sector, but at the last moment, India and many developing countries proposed the change to phase down the coal uses in developing countries. Sir, it was mainly because for developing countries there are very less avenues for energy generation, and also there is a very huge demand with the development coming. So that's why developing countries wanted to phase down the uses of coal for power generation.
Vibhav, we related to climate negotiations, we also hear of a term called climate justice.
Yes, sir.
So what do we understand by climate justice?
Sir, climate justice is it is related to means developing countries and small island developing states. Mainly, what is it that the developed countries means what we call as the first world or Western European countries, they have used all the fossil fuels for their development in the earlier stages, and they are the major contributors to the carbon emission and as well as this climate change. So climate justice talks about that we should be there should be a proportionality in reduction of this coal and other fossil fuels. Means developing countries should be given a more leisure to use this to develop at a certain stage, and then to reduce the emissions from this.
Vibhav, you are from Rajasthan.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alwar.
Yes, sir.
What is the percentage of tribal population in Rajasthan?
Sir, it is around 12 to 15%.
12 to 15%.
Yes, sir.
And since you are from Alwar,
Yes, sir.
what is the is Alwar in the drought prone region of Rajasthan or in the rainfall region?
No, sir, it is not a drought prone, and it has means sufficient monsoon rain because it lies on the northern side of Aravallis, northeastern side.
You have mentioned one of your hobbies as following Indian politics.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what exactly do you follow when you say Indian politics?
Sir, means the current developments in the Indian politics, various policies of different parties, and means daily means about the happenings in the Indian politics.
Have you heard of a term called political economy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you understand by the term?
Sorry, sir, I have not exactly read about this term, but only heard this term.
Okay.
I could guess about it.
So Vibhav, there is recently there is a trend that in any region of India, if there is a protest, right, or there is an agitation, there is a tendency that the opposition parties in that state they tend to support those agitations, which also leads to law and order problems. Do you think this is an unhealthy trend?
No, sir, because protest is a basic fundamental right in any democracy, and also our constitution provides the right to protest within the fundamental right of freedom of speech and expression. So protest is a marker that there is means collaboration in democracy. There is a two-way dialogue in democracy. Protest is a marker of that. Means if some people are not satisfied, they can raise their voices to the government, and protest becomes a medium to make their voices reach to the government. Also means if it comes to the support by opposition parties, it is it is an opportunity seen by them to mobilize the masses for their own support, as well as to make the voices heard of those people to the government.
You must have witnessed that during the last parliament session.
Yes, sir.
There were many unruly scenes in the parliament.
Yes.
Right, wherein even some marshals of the Rajya Sabha, they were injured. Some of them had to be admitted to the nearest hospital. Do you think such issues can be resolved? This is very unhealthy for a democracy.
Yes,
How
sir.
do we resolve such issues?
Sir, such issues should be resolved, and first of all, we need to understand why such issues arise, because there is a sense of deprivation in the opposition parties that they are not given equal chances to speak in the parliament. Also, sometimes it is a deliberate action by some opposition party members to not to to hamper the smooth conduction of parliament functionings. So there is need for dialogue from the government side, means the parliamentary affairs minister and the speaker and the chairman and members of opposition parties of major political parties. There has to be a discussion about the functioning of parliament, and also government need to give some leverage to opposition parties also to speak up their points in the parliament.
Vibhav, there has also been a lot of discussion regarding the law on sedition in recent years.
Yes.
The source of sedition was rooted in the colonial times,
Yes.
and but we surprisingly we have carried it to this day. Do you think it is the right time to scrap the sedition law?
So sedition is for those people. It is for those people who are against the nation. It is for the national security. So I think currently we have a situation that there are many people who are working against the nation. For them, there is sedition law and it is required. However, I think there should be a justifiable use of this, and we need to limit the use, as Supreme Court has mentioned in Kedarnath Singh judgment, that until and unless any speech or action incites violence, till then the sedition law should not be applicable. So government needs to, or other state governments also need to put restraint on using this law. It should be an exception.
So, if I give you an example, suppose you are posted as a AC
Yes, sir.
in some Naxal affected district, right? And you find some groups of students or groups of people who are distributing Naxal literature. So, can those people be booked under sedition?
Sir, if the literature pertains to inciting violence and ask people to pick up arms and revolt against the government and overthrow the state, then I will definitely suggest to book them under sedition.
As we see the form of Naxalism in its current form, do you think the way Russian Revolution took place, it was also an example of the current trend that we see in Naxalism, because Naxalism also tries to do that. So was Russian Revolution also a form of that as well?
Sir, Russian Revolution and this Naxalism are fundamentally different, because at that time in Russia there was no democracy, there was no any elected government. It was a authoritarian government ruled by the czars, and there was various atrocities on the laborers because of Russia's ambition to increase their production and match up with the Western nations. So the situation was different for the Russian Revolution. However, in our case, we have a democratically elected government. Every people has equal right to vote as well as stand up for the elections and compete and make the changes in the policy as per their likes. So I think the cases are different. So we should not equate nationalism with Russian Revolution.
You have also mentioned cricket as one of your hobbies.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Vibhav, currently our recent performance at the T20 World Cup, right? It was criticized a lot, particularly related to the calls on team selection. So, do you think increasingly in Indian cricket, team selection is getting very individualistic, where the captain is calling all the shots? Do you think that?
No, sir, it is not the case, because in the current team also means in last World T20 World Cup, it was based on the performance of the players and the recent form of the players in various domestic tournaments as well in the IPL. It was a major factor for choosing the players. However, captain and coach must have a say, because ultimately they have to pick the team and play the matches and use their men and team members as per the situations. So they have a say, but I don't think so that they are completely ruling the team selection.
Okay, okay. Vibhav, many times we see that sports also becomes a tool of diplomacy as well as hostility, right? And the recent India-Pakistan game, there were many people who appreciated the fact that we are playing Pakistan after a long time. But there were also some reactions when we lost the game, right? And it also lead to subsequently some arrests at many places in India. So, do you think when we should actually play cricket with a nation with whom we have hostile relations? Should we do that?
Sir,
Let's say, leave aside the ICC tournaments because therein we are mandated to play. But should we actually look at resumption of any bilateral cricketing ties?
Sir, currently I do not think so, especially with Pakistan, because we have a hostile relation as well as we are always facing the scar of terrorism and external state-sponsored terrorism. So I don't think so that it is a correct time to resume such bilateral series with Pakistan. And also means it can be used as a tool of diplomacy. However, we need to have a reciprocable reaction from the other side also, because it is seen in past also we have always initiated the talks and it was always replied by some terrorist attack or some other form of disturbance in our country. So we need to be more
It's okay. It's okay. Vibhav, you must have heard of Assam Rifles. Okay. So Assam Rifles is a paramilitary force or it is a battalion of the Indian Army?
Sir, it is a paramilitary force.
It's a paramilitary force. And who has the operational control?
Sir, Ministry of Defense.
Ministry of Defense.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Recently we saw that some terrorists in Manipur, they targeted the Assam Rifles, right? And there has been a recent spurt in the operation of insurgents and terrorists in that region. Why there has been a recent such scenario?
Sir, means the recent attacks was owned by this People's Liberation Army of Manipur. Sir, it was tactics used by these groups to make them on the surface and make themselves alive in the public talks. However, the situation has been improved very much in past few decades with the coordinated efforts of Assam Rifles and Central Armed Police Forces. So I think we need to just stick to our current operational tactics to reduce the any negative efforts done by such groups, and we need to also coordinate with our neighboring countries like Myanmar so that any cross-border activities should not take place.
Okay. So Vibhav, I see that you're from Utopia College. What is the meaning of Utopia?
Sir, Utopia means an egalitarian society.
What is the meaning of Utopia? Egalitarianism is a form of, let's say, end goal. But what is meaning of utopian?
Sir, Utopia means it can be said that means which is not really the situation, but what we want.
You have done electrical engineering, right?
Yes.
We see influx of electric vehicles nowadays, and we majorly go for lithium-ion batteries.
Yes.
So, what are the factors which lead towards promotion of lithium-ion batteries?
Sir, first of all, the storage capacity of lithium-ion batteries, and secondly is the availability of lithium at the cheaper cost than other alternatives, and the storage means the energy stored in the lithium-ion batteries means we in an electrical vehicle we need to ensure that it runs for a specified range. So we need to ensure that a sufficient energy is available in the vehicle, which lithium-ion battery supports for.
Regarding the point that lithium is more easily available and cheaper compared to lead and other things, are you sure?
Sir, currently there is a problem regarding availability of lithium. Means there is a disruption in supply. However, because of its efficiency, I think it is more useful.
Okay. In this context of electrical supply, we come across the term called as smart grid.
Yes.
What is this smart grid?
Sir, smart grid is use of information communication technology to to dispatch the power through transmission line, as well as automatically manage all the power related distribution and transmission activities.
Okay. Fine. Why is it that most of the candidates pick CISF as their first choice? Because even you have picked CISF. What can be the reasons?
Sir, I don't know about the general trend. However, means there is no specific reason for choosing. There is a demand for to fill the preferences, and also I think there is a more social interaction with these forces, which I have picked in the top 3.
So others are anti-social in nature.
No, so, means I want to say that interaction of the people with these forces, if through the film, through the media, or through direct interaction in the metros, airports, we interact with these forces. So I think there is an inclination towards these forces that we should join these forces.
In Rajasthan, of course, shares a huge border with Pakistan, and there is a problem of smuggling across the length and breadth of Pakistan. So what can be done to check these or prevent these?
Sir, we need to ensure that the patrolling mainly at the night time should be proper. We need to equip the border security forces with night vision goggles and binoculars. Also, apart from this, there is recent trend of use of drones to smuggle the things. So we need to keep a check on these through checkposts or means the high towers, and also anti-drone techniques developed by DRDO recently should be given to these forces.
Okay, what is the length of border which Rajasthan shares with Pakistan?
Sir, it is around 1100 kilometers.
What is the range of this anti-drone technology which is given by DRDO?
Sir, it is around up to 1 to 2 kilometers.
Exactly. So how many systems do we need to cover this Rajasthan border?
Sir,
1,000.
approx.
So yeah, so what can be better solutions, or what can be the solutions to manage, given that we share, from Gujarat to all the way to West Bengal, we share thousands of kilometers of borders. So what can be the better solutions to manage this drone problem?
Sir, means one could be that we need means these drones are operating on a radio frequency range.
Good.
So we need to ensure that these we can jam those frequencies.
Radio frequency jammers.
Yes, sir. We can use those. Also, I have heard about these anti-drone guns.
Yes.
In the
Made by Israeli firms.
yes, sir. So we can go for those.
Fine, fair enough. Compared to the northern states of Punjab and Jammu Kashmir, Rajasthan is relatively quiet in terms of border activities, because Punjab and Jammu Kashmir have faced more problems with Pakistan, from Khalistan to many other issues. Why is it that Rajasthan seems to be relatively quiet in this department?
Sir, because one of the factors is that whole border is completely fenced. Also, there is the terrain is same throughout the Rajasthan border. It is desert only. However, in case of Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir, there are various cross-border rivers and also dense jungles in the Jammu Kashmir territory. So these provides avenues for the cross-border terrorists to cross in night times or when the check is less.
Okay. You mentioned a very interesting hobby called as following Indian politics, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said, I follow policies of parties.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by policies of parties?
Sir, means what they want to promote in the country.
Okay.
What is their vision if they come to the power?
Then what is the policy of the ruling party?
Sir, it is stated policy of development and sabka saath and sabka vikas.
What is the policy of opposition party or the Congress party?
Sir, it wants to be its policy is of inclusive India.
Okay, fine. We have recently government was forced to withdraw farm laws.
Yes, sir.
Do you think it is good for a democracy that it can be arm twisted by a couple of states to withdraw laws which were reportedly praised by many, let's say, academicians and intellectuals?
Sir, means there has to be a balance in bringing such laws. If there are some stakeholders who are not satisfied with the law, it should have been means there has to be more deliberation on such laws through civil society organizations and various farmer stakeholders and their organizations. So I don't think that taking back the laws is can be attributed to the arm twisting by those organizations who are protesting, because by and large it was a peaceful protest, and also they stick to their demand and didn't deviated or also didn't allow many political parties to hijack their stages.
When they were invited to debate, they were invited to parliamentary discussion. Supreme Court invited them to give their points. They did not submit any. So, and for the 2 years, there were deliberations going on, and literally there was no debate from the parties. So, do you think this was the other party or the farmers' lobby were actually interested in deliberation or some form of negotiation, because democracy is about negotiation?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think there was 11 rounds of talk with the government, with this farm organizations, and there was no middle path could be arrived at through those discussions, and there was more apprehensions in the farmers that their land will be confiscated and private players would damage their farms. So these we need to address their concerns before bringing such laws.
What are electoral bonds?
Sir, electoral bonds are for the funding to the political parties. It could be purchased by an individual or a
Why
private
were they
firm.
brought?
Sir, it was brought to bring transparency in the funding and to check illegal sources of funding.
Okay. When you say transparency in funding,
Yes, sir.
the names are anonymous. So, what transparency are we talking about?
Because it is through the banking channel, and a person can deposit only if he has a bank account with KYC verifications. So it ensures that no illegal money or illegal person is depositing any purchasing any bond to donate to political parties.
You are born on 9th of August.
Yes, sir.
What is the historical significance of this date? Any event at a global level, international level you can correlate?
Sir, 9th of August in 1945, there was a bombing in Nagasaki.
Why do you think the US chose that step to use a nuclear weapon?
Sir, one of the reasons was to immediately end the war, and
Alright.
second was to project itself at the world stage as a global power.
All right, good. So you say you follow Indian politics. Do you think that there is absence of internal democracy within the parties?
Yes, sir. There is in recent times there is lack of internal politics among parties, and there is a developing high command culture in various parties.
And there is like dynastic culture, so somebody's parent is there and they are nominated as the party chief. Don't you think this is kind of a irony in a way, because we are a democracy and we don't have an internal party democracy within the parties? So how do you think that the parties, they ensure democratic values flow to the people?
Sir, first of all, I would like to say that being from a dynasty is not a problem if anybody has a capability. However,
Okay.
there should be a voting and internal
Yes.
voting mechanism.
Yes.
And various national parties have their state representatives. So there should be a channelized process.
Are there any guidelines related to this? Is there any guidelines from any body in India related to ensuring elections within the parties?
Sir, I am not aware about this.
Election Commission has said anything in this regard? Do you know?
Sorry, sir, I am not aware.
Okay. Have you compared the US system with our Indian system? How the US presidential elections happen? Do you know how they happen?
Yes.
How they choose their candidates?
Sir, there is internal voting among the party cadres. Means there is a membership of the main two parties, and so they choose their representatives at the local level, and those means around 5 to 6 representatives are chosen from the states, and after the
Yes,
debate between
yes.
them, there is a main presidential elected.
So,
Candidate.
at what stage do these debates happen? This is the final stage?
Sir, before the elections.
Before the elections, okay. What is the specific name of these elections, internal elections? Do you know what they call it?
Sorry, sir, I have read about this, but
Primaries and
Primaries,
caucuses. Yeah. What is your view regarding lobbying? Do you understand the term lobbying?
yes, sir.
Is it legal in India?
No, sir. In India, it is not legal, but in
Is it
USA,
illegal then?
sir, lobbying is not legal in India. It is illegal.
It is illegal.
Yes, sir.
Is there any law that bans lobbying?
Sir, sorry, sir.
Or is
I'm
there
not-
any absence of regulation?
There is absence of regulation. There is no
Okay.
law.
Is it regulated in the US?
Yes, sir.
What are the norms there?
Sorry, sir. I'm not.
Okay. Okay. Do you think that it should be done in India as well? Lobbying should be made legal?
Sir, it can be thought of about regulating such, because there are incidences where lobbying has been done illegally. It has came after the deal has been made,
All right.
so it can be regulated.
Right. Just some time ago, there was news regarding the spending by political parties on the elections that happened recently, earlier this year in somewhere around May. And somewhere around, I think, 250 crores were spent by the major parties on those 5 elections. Do you think it's time that we consider state funding of elections? Because one of the reason against this is that they say that parties have to spend so much on the elections that it obviously gives rise to corruption at a later stage when they come to the power. So do you think that state funding of elections is a possible solution to this?
Yes, sir. Because various committees have also recommended about state funding.
Can you name a few which committees
Sir,
have
this
recommended?
National Commission on Working of Constitution recommended it about it. And also one committee, I am missing this name. And sir, means it should be thought of because it can check the rising expenses by political parties in their large rallies. So it is a possible solution to check the use of money.
Do you know some gallantry awards that are given to the armed forces in India?
Yes, sir. Sir, there are 2 types of award during the war and in peace times.
Okay.
And sir, for the war, it is means in hierarchical order, it is Mahavir Chakra, then Paramveer Chakra,
Okay.
and Veer Chakra.
Which is the topmost?
Sir, Mahavir Chakra,
Okay.
then Paramveer
Okay.
Chakra, and then Veer Chakra.
Do you think that these awards should be granted to CAPFs as well? Or do you know that any awards that are given to the CAPF
Sir,
forces?
they are given the peacetime gallantry awards like Ashok Chakra.
Okay, they are given the peacetime awards. And state police services?
Sir, they are also given the peacetime awards.
Okay. And do you think there is a problem of motivation or sort of lack of satisfaction within the cadres, within the personnel in these forces?
Sir, I don't think so regarding motivation. However, there are some concerns were raised by CAPF officers regarding organized Group A services and also about the deputation of IPS officers at the higher posts. So there are some concerns, but I don't think so that they hinder the motivation and morale of the forces.
Can you just elaborate what are the issues that were highlighted?
Sir, regarding this deputation of IPS officers to...
Yes, and also the service conditions.
Sir, there are some instances of lack of infrastructure in the field postings, like in remote areas, in the Naxalite affected areas or in Jammu and Kashmir. So there are some infrastructural issues. And also there is a problem of vacancies in these forces, because of which burden on the existing cadres increase. So we need to look after these issues.
Do you think mental health of our personnel is being ignored or being not given enough attention that it requires?
Sir, the attention is given by various forces. For instance, this ITBP force has education and counseling unit in the forces to check about the mental stress of the forces, as well as guide them to how to deal with the stress. However, there is need to be given more efforts in various forces so that they can vent up their grievances to the officers.
All right.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.